Welcome back to Second Act Podcast. I am, as always, Justin Sims, and I'm always joined with my co-host, Michael Stone. Today we have an awesome guest for you, Joshua Lewis. This is what I know about the guy. Award-winning filmmaker, survivor, father, an incredible human being, really. And today we're going to dig deeper into his journey, his story. We hope you all enjoy it. Josh, welcome to Second Act Podcast.
Thank you, Justin. It's an honor to be here. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate the invite.
We're going to get right into it.
Yeah.
We're going to start where we start with a lot of our guests, right at the beginning.
Okay.
So your mom putting you down the basket down the river and you floating to the Egyptians.
Pharaoh's daughter.
Yeah, Pharaoh's daughter discovering you in the wicker basket. Let's start there.
You know, born and raised in Connecticut. You know, families from New York, New Jersey. So we kind of, I was put in the middle there. And really good childhood. So, I mean, I had a really good childhood.
Good meaning loving parents.
Yeah, you know, I didn't come from a broken home or anything like that. I came from a nice neighborhood, cul-de-sac, a lot of kids, Little League,
What did
Sunday
mom and
school.
Dad do?
Dad's he's a recruiter, so he helps people find jobs. Mom was stay-at-home mom, little sister. But, you know, it's funny as I think about, you know, my childhood, which I've had to do many times and kind of reviewing the past and things like that. I've had, you know, I was a very sensitive kid. I just was a really kind, loving kid. And, you know, thrown into some spots sometimes that, you know, I was kind of needing to be a little bit stronger. And, you know, I mean, there was a lot of bullying and stuff like that, you know, unfortunately. And I didn't want to fight back. I didn't want to be a violent guy at all. And, you know, over time, it just started to kind of get to me where, you know, there was a point where I had to kind of either fight back or kind of get, you know, continue to get walked on over, you know. And so I started noticing around like 5th, 6th grade is when I started to kind of like...
The transition.
Yeah, the transition, wanting to fit in with a different crowd and wanting to be accepted. And I started to get in trouble. You know, suspensions, school suspensions, things like that.
How did that make you feel as far as you're wanting to find your identity now? And then you get in trouble a little bit. Did that give you like a, now I'm establishing myself. Now I'm that kid, that cool kid.
Well, that's what it was. It was, I had to adapt so that I didn't get kind of picked on anymore. And I mean, it's not a feel bad for me kind of story. It's just the way it is. I mean,
can't beat them, join them.
You know, that's really what it was. It was either going to get beat or I was going to join them, and I had to join them, and that's really what it was. And so scholastics and all kinds of school stuff just fell to the wayside, and I was always a good student. But, you know, eventually I just started getting into a lot of, you know, trouble. And that's when my father, you know, was having some financial difficulties. And he said, listen, we're packing up and we're moving down south. And my mom didn't want to go. And I was, you know, I was excited to go because I needed to get the heck out of where I was. It was, you know, I couldn't be who I wanted to be there. My cover was blown already, you know?
You'd reached your ceiling in Connecticut.
Well, I mean, I don't know about it was a ceiling. I think it was my bottom. I think it was already a bottom in Connecticut because it was already that I had bottomed out with a lot of groups and a lot of, you know, so it was like a new start for me down here.
Down here being Florida's, that's how far south. That's a big move.
It was a big move.
And this is still middle school time?
I was 8th grade.
So
you know,
end of middle school?
Yeah, end of middle school and just barely got through it. And, you know, packed car and driving down the states, you know, driving down here. And my father didn't have, at that time, a lot of money, so we barely got down here. I remember when we just got down here, we woke up to go to school like in the, you know, a few weeks later, whatever it was, and the car was gone. It had been repossessed, you know. So, you know, financial stuff was hitting hard. And but, you know, it was like going into 9th grade and that was exciting, and I made the honor roll the first semester in 9th grade, and then that was it. You know,
no more honor roll for the rest of your high school career.
That's it. That was the last time I made the honor roll ever in life.
So wait, what happened after semester 1? Like, what was that?
It was the same thing. It was me having to try to fit in. I couldn't let what happened to me in Connecticut happen to me down here.
So you had to establish
I had
yourself.
to establish now that I was this rough and tough kid from up north that wasn't going to take anyone's shit, you know, whatever, and
was a risk taker and I don't give a damn,
you know, and
type
that's
attitude.
exactly what it was. And
what kind of kids did that draw to you? What I mean, because obviously our energy
drew a lot of bad kids.
So then you found your clique. You were the garbage pail kids, the kids that didn't give a damn.
That's exactly right. We were garbage pail kids.
I have a question. Did your parents, when you brought up getting the car repossessed, did your parents tell you, oh, our car got repossessed? Or how did you know? Because I'm thinking, shit like that happened. My kids have no fucking idea that a car would have got repossessed.
Yeah, well,
shit like that happened all the time.
You know,
from my fucking up, but there's no way they would have known.
But yeah,
my wife would have never, she would have never let them know.
You know, it's funny. I knew that my dad was going through financial difficulties. So we came outside to go to school, and I said, "Where's the car?" And he goes, and you know, he didn't say anything. He's just like, "All right, go back inside. Come on." You know, because he knew. You know, he knew what it was. And you know, now being a father and having, you know, and understanding what paying the bills is like, I can understand what my dad went through
in that moment.
In that moment,
like,
you know, that's a tough moment, you know, to be a parent, you know. So yeah, I mean, it was, but I mean, immediately 9th grade,
I have arrived.
You know, it was just like I got in with the kids in the neighborhood. They were bad kids, and it's funny because I remember thinking, man, these kids are really like bad kids. You know, these are really bad kids. But yet I was the one that was always getting kicked out of my house. I was the one that was always the last one in the neighborhood walking around with a bottle of MD 2020 at 15 going, where are these other bad kids? And they were inside. Like they went home at some point.
They were done for the night.
They were done for the night. Me, I didn't know when to... So I knew, I said, holy cow, I might have a real problem here. And that was already at 15.
Damn.
So I started to know, I was walking around like the town drunk, you know, already. And I was popping acid. I mean, I took more acid in 2 years than I think, you know, I don't know, could have been taken at Woodstock. I have no idea. But I'll tell you that I took a lot of hallucinogens. And I mean, I was taking roofies. I mean, I was roofing myself. I mean, who does that? You know,
date raping yourself.
I was date raping myself. So I mean, there was a lot of crazy stuff, and that was at 15. So, yeah.
So you were full board. What did you have any consequences at that point, or you were just did you not?
I had consequences. I had excuse me.
I mean, aside from like you said, you were kind of turning into the little town drunk.
Said he got kicked out of his house, too.
Kicked out of your house, that's another one, yeah.
I was getting kicked out all the time, and I was sleeping at the pool area in a sleeping bag.
Like in the community pool?
Yeah, and I was trying to hide from the mosquitoes in the sleeping bag. And, you know, I would walk to these kids' houses, you know, in other neighborhoods drunk in the middle of the night, and I'd want them to let me in and let me sleep in their closet. I mean, it was really crazy. The consequences, I was getting arrested constantly. I was, as a juvenile, I was in D.C., I was in, you know, detention centers, truancy. I mean, it was constant. And
for just a laundry list of stuff, or was it like...
A lot of just, you know, little minor drug offenses and things like that, or...
intoxication stuff and...
Intoxication, public intoxication, all kinds of things like that.
But that pile...
It was starting to pile up.
Yeah.
I mean, I had been arrested by the ake of 18. I had been arrested 18 times in 9 towns, starting from, and all in order, from Lake Worth to Tequesta. There's 9 towns, and I've been arrested in 2 towns, or twice in each town. So I was 18 times before 18 years old. And
just collecting your stickers, like those people that have the stickers on the back of their car, all the states they visited.
Yeah,
they're just like handcuffs for each.
Oh
state.
yeah, I didn't miss any of them. Literally, I can name every town. And then it was 15. I was kicked out again, one of my many times, and I just got in a car with some kid, and we drove to the Keys, Key West, and I lived on the streets of Key West for 2 weeks, and just as a 15-year-old living like a homeless bum on the streets of Key West, it was. I fell in love with the town, though. I really loved Key West. But that was, yeah, I mean, this is what it was. This was my childhood. I mean, this was crazy stuff that I was doing. And I didn't see how it was going to come to an end. And every time I would get a little bit away from, I'd get a little bit like maybe a month or so, I wouldn't get an arrest.
Or you'd calm down.
I'd calm down a little bit or something, you know, I have it manageable. You know, another arrest would happen and I'd be, you know, back in trouble. So,
and what would that do for you? Would that just give you a overflowing pocket of the efforts? Like even more like, well, screw it. This is who I am. I'm this fuck up.
Yeah.
Pardon my French. But who cares? Screw it at this point.
I mean, it was like there was no way out. You know, there was no way for me to ever stop doing what I was doing. And
you'd accepted that.
You know, it's almost like that I had accepted it, and I just needed more acceptance from others, in a sense.
So you were validation seeking.
You know, yeah, I really was. You know, I was still trying to be somebody, and I did not want to be that sensitive person that got walked all over. You know, I just couldn't let that happen again. So I had to continue to be this, you know, criminal.
This facade of your true self.
Yeah, I had to be a criminal. I had to be a hardened criminal in a sense. I had to continue, and so I mean, everything escalated. You know, 15, it was selling drugs, and it was doing drugs, selling drugs. 16, it was really selling drugs. 17, it was not just drugs, it was drugs and guns, and it was.
So you're further entrenching yourself into this dark world.
Oh yeah. 18 years old hits, and I get a cocaine charge, and you know, and it's not slowing down. You know, now I'm almost a two-time convicted felon already at 19. So. I mean, it's getting a lot worse.
And no other interest at the time of a normal 19, 20-year-old? No, like, oh, college maybe? Or...
You know, it's funny, Justin, you bring that up. It's really amazing of how hard I worked to screw my life up. You know, because kids at that age, normally, even if you have something going on, there's a little bit of guidance, there's a little bit of
structure
towards college, some kind of job. I mean, my job was getting high. My job was doing drugs. My job was trying to find money to do drugs.
And that was 3 full-time jobs.
I mean, it really was. I mean, and so there, you know, a normal job would just get in the way of that. It was just, you know, it was like...
Constant hustle and ducking and diving and living in the dark web and...
You know... What do you need a normal job for? You have money.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to come up with, you know, when I was selling drugs, I was able to do it for free, you know, pretty much. And then when that stopped, I got raided. My house got raided, 17 cops, you know, in the middle.
House?
Yeah. I was selling dope out of my mom's garage, my mom and dad's garage for a year and a half, almost 2 years. I dropped out of school, 16 years old. I'm living in a middle-class white neighborhood that's a circle, and I have my garage open from 7 to 12 at night, 7 in the morning to 12 at night, and I have cars pulling in, and I am selling cocaine and marijuana out of this, and pills out of this garage, and I'm working out in a little undershirt, and I'm like, you know, like little Tony Soprano in my garage.
But they think you're just out there working out.
My mom,
what is he doing out there?
Working out, I need the door open.
My mom
let the air
thought.
in.
Meanwhile, he's got Mac 10 blasting out of the stereo in the garage. It was like the garage was shaking.
West Side Connection. I had West Side Connection. I had all the good stuff going on. I had my little wicker couch. I had my Soloflex, and you know, the cars were pulling up, and my mom, you know, it was like she was the DEA agent. She was the one that would try to come out and try to bust me and try to catch me. I just got so good at dealing drugs that it was crazy. And I made a lot of money in 2 years. And then one night I left in a Porsche with a friend, and man, all these Gardens cops just started pulling up all around us and blocking us in, and it was the whole Burns Road with all cop cars, and you'd think I was someone really big, and they took me back to the house, and they went inside, and they didn't have a search warrant, and I wouldn't let them in, and all this stuff, and they still found dope. They legally took it, and they didn't arrest me, and
they didn't arrest you?
They didn't arrest me. They took about a quarter pound of weed and some other stuff, and I guess I had to re-up, you know, and you know, so whatever.
That's what you're thinking.
That ended the dealing. But the addiction was raring and still going, so I had to keep that going. So that's when I really started to downward spiral, where it was all the things that I ever said that I wouldn't do.
You did.
I wouldn't smoke crack. I would never shoot dope.
Intravenous.
I would, intravenous. I would never become one of these guys that was, I don't say, like I didn't want to become someone that was, possessed by a woman in a sense, become like, there was a lot of things that I thought I just could never become. And what I found was everything that I said that I would never become, I became. So I smoked crack, I shot up everything that I said I wouldn't do.
You became that POS that you said you never would do.
Everything I said I wouldn't do, I did. And I saw that pattern, and I said, so I did. I started shooting dope, I started shooting dope, I started smoking crack, and
this is at 20s?
2019,
yeah,
18, 19, because it was right after I stopped selling all that stuff, and I had that addiction. So I was stealing now from my parents. I was stealing from friends. I was stealing from...
Because the dealer money was gone.
The dealer money's gone.
So you had to compensate for that somehow.
I had a $100 a day habit that I had to figure out a way to get dope for.
Yep, no matter
Whether
what.
it was, I had to have the alcohol, I had to have the drugs, I had to have all that stuff. And
whatever it was for you to escape reality.
Oh, absolutely.
No matter what.
Every day. Every day I had to escape reality. And the insanity was that there came a point where I didn't want to do it anymore, but I had no control over it. I couldn't stop. I would say I'm going to stop, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I couldn't. And it was weird. I had $100 for the day, or I would steal it from someone, or my mom, or my sister, or my father, whoever I could get money from, or I'd rip off someone else, a stranger. And I had $100, and instead of having a dealer that I would go to, call up, hey, you got $100 worth of stuff, I would go to the worst part of town, and I would take only 20 of it. And I'd say, well, this is going to be it, because I'm not going to spend this. I'm not going to spend the rest of it,
Controlled using.
Yeah. And I would go there, I'd get the dope, go home, I'd shoot it up, I'd be out, I got to go back. I'd go back. I would do that 5 times a day.
There's the 100.
And there's the 100. And, it was so insane, and I would have all these little stories made up, and I'd have these directions written down on a piece of paper as if I was lost in my car and I couldn't find, so in case the cop pulled me over, he would, what are you doing? You're in the worst part of town. I'm lost. I'm trying to find this address, And
wow.
It worked until the same cop would pull me over. And he'd go, and I wouldn't know, I'm so screwed up in my head, I couldn't tell. It was the same cop, I go, I'm lost. He goes, listen, you were lost last week. Get the hell out of here now, And I go, oh man, this is getting bad, And it was bad. I mean, it was pretty bad. And the girl finally, I had a girlfriend. She left me, high school sweetheart. Finally, couldn't take any more of it. And that's when I and my parents said, you got to go to rehab, man. We got to get you to rehab. And it's funny because I talk about how I was sent to the Watershed, which is a rehab in Boca. They have one in Boca and another one in Del Rey, I think. Mm-hmm. And he could only afford, my father, God bless this man, who had no money. He would always scrounge up whatever he could to help me out, and he would go broke doing it. And he paid like just, whatever money he could pay, and I could only afford a week's worth in this rehab. And I got out, and I felt really good, and I went right to a meeting. And I got a little bit, like a couple months of time, but then I relapsed, and I couldn't get it. I couldn't, so I relapsed. And this time there was no more money left, so I had to go to some CARP or DAF,
like
some
a
state-run facility. So I go to the state-run facility, and I'm like, oh, this is horrible. I'm like, if I could just go back to the Watershed, that would be so much better, And I get out of DAF, and I'm sober for a little bit, and then I relapse, and...
DAF, Drug Abuse Foundation?
Yeah,
okay.
And then and then I get arrested for something else, and I'm now sitting in the county jail for a month or so, and I'm going, oh, if I could just go back to DAF, that would be.
Were you in when you got arrested? You were in gun club.
I was at gun club.
Were you on opiates?
No, I was
so
on cocaine.
So imagine sitting in gun club and having to detox in gun club on the floor of a jail cell. That's where I was.
That's the best.
Speaking of happy to go to DEF, totally happy to go to DAF.
Well, yeah,
nowadays it's like these kids that come to rehabs like our rehab, they're like DAF, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And it pisses me off so bad when they say,
well, that sucks.
I like fucking, what the fuck? Dude, you're living behind a dumpster. I went to DAF. It was fine for me. Worked out fine. And they're like, they're so used to luxury places.
A lot of them even think that,
yeah,
they think that the luxury places are the real, like, these are hardcore places. No, that's
so.
Yeah. And I attribute these pains, these really painful moments, to the success that I have now. And I won't jump ahead. I'll just kind of stay in the chronological. But I mean, at that point, after getting out of DAF and doing another couple days or week or so in a gun club or in a they had the other one at the time too. They had the fairgrounds. What is it? The
Stockade.
Stockade. Thank you. They had the Stockade.
Yeah.
And these were sobering moments, but they were not sobering enough that when I got out, they would last. Right.
Not sobering enough to stop you.
So it came that I sobriety at that time gave me, when I did get a little bit of time, I was very resourceful, and I wouldn't be on drugs, and I'd have these little bouts of kind of recovery in a sense, and I would start these businesses, and the minute that I would go out and use again, they would fall apart. But I started like a little jewelry company, body jewelry, and it was really good, and I moved to Tampa thinking that I could be closer to the warehouse that had the jewelry, and I could grow. I was 20 years old now. I could start to kind of live my life and go off, and I did, and I stopped going to meetings, and I stopped doing anything that was good for me in that sense, but I just stayed on the business. And before I realized I was getting anxiety, and then I would take a Xanax, half a Xanax, use it right, and then I'll use 2 this day. Before I knew it, I was up to 11 Xanax a day. And then
that's like a blackout every day.
It's a blackout every day. It's a blackout every day. And then someone in the bottle of Xanax that I was buying put a little crack rock in there, and on a
surprise
Xanax hole. Yeah, I was like, oh,
here comes the devil.
I was so mad. I was so mad at the guy. I said, this son of a bitch. I said, let me pack this in a pipe though. I'm
gonna smoke it just to spite you.
To show him.
I'm gonna show you.
I got hooked on crack for a year.
All over again. Reignited the engine.
9 months every day in Tampa, just burning up alive, burning myself, every freaking day, just smoking, and then trying to get off the pills. And I had grand mal seizures. I had 2 grand mal seizures because of the Xanax, the barbiturate withdrawal. Benzo, right?
Yeah, the benzo withdrawal, which is extremely dangerous, but also the fact that you're constantly you're doing 9 Xanax, extreme upper and extreme downer. Your heart's probably confused as shit.
Oh, it would look like it was gonna blow out of my chest a couple times.
So inside, you were not a 20-year-old man at this time. You were like.
It was bad, man. It was bad. I was found on the floor many times by, my then secretary girlfriend. That was a healthy relationship. And, so, I mean, in hospital and I crawled back here on my hands and knees to West Palm. And I had, very little of anything. And I was able to get a little apartment with the girl that came back here with me. And I don't know why she did. And I feel bad. And I made my amends, but that was it was a tough time, and I linked up with a kid from high school who was in his misery, and I brought a legal firearm. I had legal firearms from when I first turned 18, before I had any kind of conviction of an adult. I had bought a firearm before I was a convicted felon yet, and I never turned the guns in. So I had the gun, and we went West Palm, bad parts, smoking, doing all kinds of things. And a dope dealer came to the car, tried to buy the dope. And I had some money, but I wanted more for my money. And he wasn't giving it to me. And I tried to grab it out of his hands. He jumped in the car. I pulled out my gun, and I shot him 6 times. And I shot him in his neck, his chest, his stomach, his groin, his leg, and I went up his body. And the 7th was aimed for his head. I was gonna kill him. I didn't care. And
so it was literally like you just like
I just put my foot up against. He jumped in the car. I put my foot up against his his chest, pushed him up inside the windshield, and I just went right up his body. Point blank, right here to me, you know, blood everywhere. And
as close as me and you.
Oh, yeah. And inside of a Neon, I mean, a Dodge Neon. I mean, that's not a very spacious car. And I shot him, and I just, right through the windshield, and he went right onto the hood. And my friend got out of the car, he grabbed him by his belt loops and threw him in the street. And with we had busted our tires from trying to get away, and we're driving with
on rims,
busted tires, and
no
rims,
windshield,
no windshield, and we've got his homeboys in a truck chasing us,
and blood all over you,
blood all over us, gun in the hand, empty, it's jammed, I can't do anything with it, and we just pull right to the sheriff's station, and the cops surround the building and take us into custody. And
so you pulled into the sheriff's?
Yeah, because
you were gonna have to get killed by this guy.
Yeah, we're gonna get killed by them, so we might as well, you know, get killed by them.
Was he armed?
They were armed. No, he wasn't armed. No, he wasn't armed. But you know, the story was it was self-defense. I said, hey, I was trying to buy drugs, but you know,
but the scuffle happened, drug deal gone bad.
Gone bad, and we went to jail. But I got released. They dropped it. They didn't press charges. It was a self-defense situation, and it was going to be the stand your ground situation.
Stand your ground.
And so I get to 30 days after Hurricane Gene comes. What was it first, Francis or Gene?
Was first.
Francis.
2004.
So Francis comes, and my friend who was in the car with me is still sitting in jail from the shooting because he had some other shit that was carried over. So he's sitting in there. I'm out, smoking rocks still because this is like too painful. I just shot someone.
I'm stressed out.
I just shot someone. I got stressed. Yeah.
If you were me, you'd be smoking crack every day too.
That's right. And I said the hurricane was coming, everyone left me. Some friend came over that wanted to sit with me and do drugs with me. And I said, I don't have enough drugs for me, man, so you got to get your own stuff. I only got my own supply for the hurricane. I have no batteries or water.
Supply.
Yeah, I have no batteries or water, but I have plenty of pills and crack.
Hurricane party of one.
That's it. And halfway through the hurricane, it's raging, you know. It's going, and I'm like, I'm out of drugs.
It was a long ass.
It was long.
Too.
It was a long one.
Lasted like 2 days.
So what does an addict do when they're out of drugs in the middle of a hurricane?
I got a great idea, Justin.
What is it?
I'm gonna rob the dope dealer's house
During the hurricane.
during the hurricane.
Well,
Right?
Yeah, they're probably not home.
Yeah.
They're probably not home. Even though their home was probably burglarized a couple months before, they're probably not going to be home during a hurricane.
This idea is brilliant.
This can't go wrong. So I get in black. I weigh 125 pounds. He weighs about 300. So
Abbott and Costello decide to rob the dope man.
Yeah, and Laurel and Hardy there, and we go out there in the waters up to our waist, and I am getting blown away because I'm a stick. So I'm holding on to the fat kid while we're walking through the water to get to the house. I go up the stairs. I'm kicking the door with my little twig there, and I'm like, the police, open the door. You know, I'm going to kick in the door. I try to kick it twice, and the door opens up, and it's a bunch of drug dealers with pipes. Boy, they don't beat my ass so bad. I mean, I'm bleeding out of, I got skull fractures. I mean, they're ripping my clothes off while trying to drag me inside the home while I'm dragging myself down the stairs. And they're beating me the whole time. The fat kid, I'd never seen a fat kid run faster in my life. Boy, let me tell you, this kid, he cleared the water so quick. Got back to my house. I was dragging myself back home. I don't know how they didn't kill me. I get back to the house. I said, I'm bleeding profusely. I'm losing consciousness. I said, call 911. And he calls 911, and they're like, we're not coming out for hours if we ever come get you.
Yeah.
And hours later, I had a pillow crusted to my head that stopped the bleeding. And they took me back to the hospital, and I said, oh, a tree fell on me. And they said, yeah, well, your friend, your fat friend that you left in your house, he lost his keys when you went to rob the dope dealers. And they beat his ass within inches of his life. And he told us what you just did. So you're going to jail for burglary of an occupied dwelling during a state of emergency. That's a $250,000 bond right there.
Wow.
Yeah. So sitting in the infirmary, no power in the county jail during the hurricane. And they said, oh, by the way, we're charging you with attempted murder from the shooting now. from 30 days ago. So I'm facing life in prison.
At 21.
At 20 years old, I'm facing life in prison, sitting in court. They said, we're going to offer you 20 years now. You take it as a deal, or we're going to do 10, 20 life under you. And I said, I can't do it. And my family raised every last dollar that they had with an aunt and an uncle. My father went broke, and we got 10 grand and got me a decent attorney. And the offer was not coming down. It was 20 to 15 to 10, and it stayed that way. And I sat in the county jail for 6 months waiting, and thinking that I was going to be sober, 6 months. And then finally they said they needed more time, the state, and they said, we're going to let him go home on pretrial house arrest. And 3 days after getting out, I was having the dope dealer drop dope off at my house, and I couldn't stop. And facing prison, knowing I was going to be going away. And the call came in from the attorney. They're going to give you 2.5 years. Take it now, or I'm off this case.
This is the best possible offer.
This is it. And I said, okay. So yeah, June 17th, 2005, my father drove me to the courthouse over here. He cried. I went inside, and I spent 2.5 miserable years inside the Florida State Penitentiary. No air conditioning in the whole, any prison there.
Damn, that's the worst thing about it. Prison in Florida.
Maybe not. That's bad,
in the Everglades, and moved up to the Panhandle.
So they shipped you up the road.
They shipped me up the road. And they moved me as far away from home as possible. Short timers can, they move you as far away so that you can't, it makes it harder for family to come visit you, makes your time harder. And
so they do that by design.
Oh yeah, if they can, yeah. And it was the most miserable time of my life. It was the hardest time I had ever been through. Detoxing wasn't even an issue. It was staying alive. It was like just being trying to. And so now all of that childhood being tough, I had to draw on, because now I'm in the place where I need to use it. It wasn't the schoolyard anymore. This was the real schoolyard. This was the real yard. And any of that faking of being a tough guy was going to be seen through in a second. So you're either tough or you're not, And so I had to find who the hell I was, And it was this. It was, this is who I am. I'm going to be leveled out. This is it. And I'm going to fight if I have to fight, but I'm not going to start a fight. I'm not going to gamble. I'm not going to borrow. I'm not going to fight over a TV. I'm not going to fight over a phone. I'm going to read. I'm going to find a way to get to a meeting, even if there's no meeting. I'm going to make a meeting if I have to.
When you say a meeting, like an AA
meeting, recovery meeting.
In prison, right?
They do sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes they don't. And
so you were on this quest of let me get some knowledge and stay out of trouble.
The idea was that this experience was so painful, that I could not let one day be spent in vain. That means that if I spent any time in prison and got out and did the same thing that I did before, that time in prison would be spent for nil. It'd be a waste of time. I could not let that kind of pain not be used for the right purpose.
So you had to use it as fuel.
I had to. And there was a lot of people saying, oh, he'll never get out, or he'll get out and just screw up again.
Because you had before.
And I had.
But this time was different. And you hit a bottom.
This was it. I had to. So it was every bit of the 2.5 years in there. And I created meetings when there weren't any. I'd find 1 or 2 other alcoholics or recovering guys. We'd sit at the bunk. We'd get the big book. We'd get into it. I leveled myself to God. I said, listen, I don't know who the hell you are. I don't know what you are, but I need you now. And he revealed himself many times to me. There were men that would stand in front of me trying to put down on me, trying to, you're going to give me all your money. You're going to give me this. You're going to, next rec yard, your ass is mine. And I would stand in the face of danger and I'd say, listen, you can do whatever the hell you want to me, but you can't really touch me, man. I'm the Lord's, and that's it, And I would say, you can say what you want, you can do what you want, but I'm God's property. And they would get mad. You know, they would be like, they'd get mad, but they still couldn't touch me. It was like he put a wall in front of me.
You had a cloak on.
He did something. And, you know.
2.5 years.
Yeah.
Super painful stuff, Josh. I mean, you start really reading a lot. You start really...
Nothing else to do. I wasn't in jail for 2 years, but it wasn't 2 months either.
But he spent that
time... I read
time...
so many books.
Diving into recovery and spirituality. Finding his true self. So you really were kind of in the lab.
I was in the lab. I was stripped of any distraction or anything that could take me away from him or from that purpose. And it was so painful that you had to go within.
And that's what you needed.
Yeah, you just have to go within, you know. You know, Buddhist monks and all these others that they talk about, they could meditate on a bed of nails. You know, they could walk across coals, because if they go within, they could draw on the strength.
To the inner man.
To the inner, yeah, that inner God, that inner strength, you know, and that's what it was for me. And so when I got released, no car, no job, no place to live. Dad said, I'll let you live with me for 3 days.
3 days.
3 days, that's it. I'll give you $700. You find a way to get yourself something, because I can't do it.
But you had something coming out that you didn't have going in. Gratitude.
Oh yeah, I did. I had the attitude of gratitude. It was really an action situation, because it was like I was grateful for the air. I was grateful for the grass. I was very grateful.
You were living the
grateful
verb.
Not to be in jail
gratitude.
is very easy once you've been there.
That's right.
Or just not having to look over, not having to be in survival mode 24/7.
That's right.
Other things don't affect you as much.
You could go.
No, there was a breath to take, but there was also this determination that now it's time to really do the work. Like, I did a lot of work in there, but now I'm out, and this is where the faltering happens with most people.
And you apply the work.
Yeah, I mean, most people. I mean, it was like they said it was like 10% is the amount of people, the percentage of people that actually stay out of prison,
come out and don't go back.
Yeah, and I could not be the 80% or the 90% that was going to go back. So I had to be. So it was meetings every day. I got a job. It was Applebee's, and then when I couldn't stand Applebee's anymore, you know, it was Carmine's, you know, in the deli, and that was a step up. And then I wanted something more for myself. So I was given an opportunity to work with a guy doing some debt settlement work and trying to do some phone work, and I couldn't quit my day job, so I had to do both jobs and still make sure I hit a meeting in between. So I'd fall asleep. You know, I was so tired. I was taking the bus. I couldn't, you know, I was able to get a little efficiency, and I was so grateful for that efficiency.
But nonetheless, you were on fire. You were on fire. You were doing the right thing.
I had nothing to lose, man, and no one could stop me. They couldn't take nothing from me. I was gonna succeed, however it was.
Bulletproof ambition.
Pretty much, yeah. And you know, I started to make some sales with the debt settlement. That meant I could quit the day job. I quit the day job.
Before we continue on, because we're definitely on the upswing, on the act 2, the second act of your life.
Right.
The second act just started. Do you think that, because we talked about how you were younger and you wanted to be that something that you really weren't. You didn't want to be that sensitive, caring, good kid. You wanted to be what you thought you needed to be, which was this hardened criminal. Then you go through the experience of prison. Did that make you realize, this is not who I am? I'm not this facade, this tough guy. I'm a great person. This is what I need to gravitate to. Taking that kind of experience, though, to make you realize it.
Yeah, I didn't have to be the bad tough guy anymore. But I still needed to be the good tough guy now. So, you know, I just did time. You gotta you really do have to get into a mode to do time, you know? And any man could do it once they understand the survival situation that you're in. So that I could not just get out and let my guard down. I wanted to apply all of that strength that I just felt like I made it through. I made it through the gauntlet, you know? I just made it through the gauntlet, and I was gonna live to tell about it, you know? And so my message was fire, man. I'd go into rehabs, and I'd go into these, you know, adolescent juvenile places, and they would be sitting in a plastic chair with their slippers on, you know, or their sandals, and And some guy would tell him to be quiet and listen to this guy, and I'd say, listen, I don't blame you. You know, I don't blame you if you're sitting here, you know, and you don't want to listen to them, and you think that you know what it is that you know. I get it, because I'm still sometimes like that. I still get that, but I said, this is real, you know, and prison sucks.
So you related to them?
Yeah, I would talk to them and say, listen, you know, you want to keep messing around. People are dying, and I know people tell you that all the time, but I'm not one to be that adult to go, no, you know, do as I say, not as I do. I've been through it, and I understand what it's like, and I hate, you know, feeling like I can't connect, but I said that, you know, we need to, you know, anyone that goes through this situation is going to have to, like, come to some moment of truth at some point and say, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? And when is that bottom going to hit? How deep is that bottom for you? How many things are you going to lose? You know, is it going to be your life, you know, before it's too late? So I would share that message with people. And
what did that do for you?
It empowered me, you know, it empowered me. I mean, I had to keep on living this, you know, it was just meetings. It was meetings. It was, you know,
but now you're having people looking
out.
up at you.
Yeah.
You're having people go, I want what he has. Or, man, if he can do it, I can do it. So like you said, you had to continue that. That gave you the strength to continue living this good, better design of living.
There was definitely also this, I wasn't going to let the people that said that I was going to fail.
There's a chip.
There was a chip. There really was.
Which helped push the drive.
There was a chip on the shoulder because I had to show people that I wasn't a loser. And I wasn't a drug addict.
I'm a champion.
Yeah, that I am. And so, you know, I got a little, you know, the business. I said I did some debt settlement work, and then I learned enough, and I started my own debt settlement business with my best friend, and we got a little office. And now I wasn't working in Carmine's, but now I had an office above Carmine's.
Your own storefront.
Above Carmine's, you know, so that was cool. And all the guys that worked in the deli that were still there, they were like, what are you doing now? And I said, hey, I'm working my way up.
I'll be here to get my sandwich.
Yeah, and I did, and it was a good feeling.
Hell
know?
Yeah.
And then in 2008, I started. I opened a little hookah bar. I wanted to.
Why a hookah bar?
You know, it's a good question. It was.
What happened to the debt settlements?
I still kept it.
Okay.
Yeah, I kept it, and I still did the debt settlement, and I was doing very well with that. And but I wanted a side little business. I had extra money saved now from the debt settlement business. I was saving money, and I got a car again. I got a new Cadillac, and I mean, it was enjoying life. You know?
Far cry from the kid that had $100 a day going.
That's right.
How many goodies can I get?
That's right. Everything I got, I was so grateful for. I really was, and I really showed appreciation for it. And I opened a hookah bar because I had gone to a hookah bar after getting out of prison, and it was something I could do where I didn't have to drink. I could hang out with friends. We could smoke this tobacco. You know, tobacco's not great to smoke, but it wasn't anything else. It was just the tobacco, really, and it was like, we were like, you know.
But versus a bar, it's not, hey, man, I left a bag of Coke on top of the bathroom stall.
Yeah, a lot more possibilities.
You're now in an alcohol, drug-free,
social scene.
That's alcohol and drug-free.
Right, and I wasn't going to sell alcohol there, so that's exactly right. And it was a good little business, but it needed...
And it was a safe social setting.
It was a safe... I pretty much opened it to hang out and for my friends to hang out. But I also saw that the business was just barely paying its bills.
Yeah,
you know, it was just paying...
You pay a membership fee or something?
Not even. It was $15 a hookah, and it was like, you know, I mean, there was only so many people that could come in this small space.
Right.
So this is where I started to get creative, and, you know, some... you know, look down at this part of my story. Some think it was an amazing part of my story, and I've had a lot of judgment that I've passed along about myself and with the whole situation. And
but it is what it is.
It is what it is, and I'll tell you that. So I started I started looking online for things that I could sell that would be a hook, but would not be something that would be bad.
A hook to get people into the hookah bar.
Yeah, to get people in that wouldn't be alcohol. And I knew that I didn't want to just cater to recovery kids, but I didn't want no, you know, the alcohol, I didn't want the alcohol in there. So I had to have something else. So I found in Europe that there was something called herbal incense. And it was a synthetic version of marijuana. It was what was, you know, there was a professor at Clemson University that wanted to study the effects of THC on the brain. And so they weren't working with an illegal substance. He synthesized THC.
This professor.
Yeah, this professor, and it leaked to the streets, and it was being sold in Europe. It was not being sold here.
So at the time you were researching it, it wasn't here yet.
It was not here yet in the United States. And I found it, and I imported it to here, and I repackaged it, and I called it Black Magic, and I sold it at the hookah bar.
Exclusively at the hookah bar.
Exclusively at the hookah bar. I sold it at the hookah bar.
How was the reaction to it?
Gangbusters.
And how did you know it worked? Like, you're making this stuff, you and your buddy.
Yep.
Yeah.
How do you know it works?
Well,
you're sober.
I had my partner smoke it.
So you have a guinea pig friend.
I had my partner smoke it, and
how'd that turn out?
He got really high, and my eyes turned green. You know, with money symbols.
Seeing the potential of this thing is not on the street.
It's not
on
on
the
the
street. What other benefits did you have?
It's legal. It didn't cause him to have a seizure. It didn't cause him to lose his mind. He did smoke it, and he got stoned, and he was like, holy crap.
And then he went on with his day.
So we sold it in the hookah bar, and eventually after 2 months of a line out the door, and I couldn't get you couldn't get a seat anymore in the hookah bar.
So it just blew through the roof.
Blew up.
Now, let me ask you a question. If I went into the hookah bar at the time, can I buy a package of it and smoke it there?
You could.
Is it legal?
You could.
Or is it just taking it to go?
No, you could at first. And then I realized that may be a liability, so then it was just sold for...
What made you realize that? Because people were getting really high and like falling out of their chairs?
Yeah, there was someone that was getting... I had a couple people that would get, you know, they would just sit there and be too stoned. And I said, I don't know how legal this ultimately is. So just in packages to go out of the bar. And then I realized I could make a lot more money selling it to every head shop in the country.
So you want to move out way outside. You want to go national, outside of just the shop.
We'll go national, yeah.
So you're going right for the gusto.
So that's when I stopped selling it at the bar, and I hired a kid in recovery, a friend of mine that I had just met, and he sat in my living room, and we sat together, and we... still with my business partner from the debt settlement company, we just called every shop, and they said, what are you talking about? And I said, I got a sample for you. Here you go. I sent them a sample, and before you know it, I was doing $1 million a month in sales.
And what'd they call it?
Black Magic.
So that was called Black Magic.
It was called
his product was called Black Magic.
It was herbal incense.
Right.
Or spice.
You know, or potpourri
K2.
or whatever it was called. Yeah, well, K2 was like the first brand in like in Europe, in a sense, that was really selling the crap out of it. So like Xerox, like you say Xerox, I'm going to Xerox a copy.
Right.
They're the K2. They're the ones that kind of got the name as being...
Okay.
But I was like the second or third product out there. Really, yeah.
And the first in America.
One of the first.
Early.
I was like right with someone else as they were discovering it too, you know. So. But I took over the country in a sense with the sales.
Strictly through head shops.
Head shops and head shops.
And just mass production. You sending
gas
out
stations and head shops.
Sending out just product.
I could not manufacture it fast enough. I had to cut off sales. I had to stop selling I had to just say that I couldn't take any new customers. And I had a guy call me and say, I want to start selling it too. And I offered him a price. He didn't like it. And he ended up making his own. And he surpassed me in sales. And he started making it stronger. And he started making it more dangerous. So people were now going to the hospital, not with my product, but with his. And it was ending up on the news. And I knew that the time was going to come that I had to stop this.
So it's getting a lot of heat, a lot of bad attention.
I was getting a lot of heat from recovery friends now that were starting to understand what I was doing. And I wasn't trying to hide it, but I also wasn't going out there and advertising it everywhere.
Sure.
It was, to me, my idea was, listen, this is a legal product that my product doesn't hurt anyone. I haven't had anyone go to the hospital. What is the difference as far as Budweiser goes or any other? Like, if there's someone that is going to use it responsibly,
drink responsibly,
what's the problem with
responsibly.
That? You know,
not in excess or whatever.
That was my take on it. So, you know,
Do you think that was your take, or your justification?
Partly justification, I'm sure. I mean, to me, I didn't see a downfall with it. I didn't see a pitfall. I didn't see where it was bad.
Because again, with your product, there was no, we're not hurting anyone.
I did not see, there was never a report of anyone going to the hospital with mine, but the other guys was, and mine was starting to get now negative attention even more.
Guilty by association, same type of product.
So I started to plot my exit. And
out of that business entirely.
Out of that business entirely. And
where was the government with it at that point?
They were. I was sending a check to the IRS for $100,000 every month. You know, I was sending them $100,000. I was paying myself almost $250,000 a month for 2 years almost. And so I had a lot of money. You know,
you didn't. There wasn't like. Hints coming out of the DEA.
Well, they would change. They would ban the
Yeah.
first chemical, and then I would change it to the next chemical.
Okay. And
I would do it in a way that was still safe, where people were not taking one hit and losing their minds.
So in layman's terms, that would be like, okay, so this chemical compound that I'll call number 1. Now I'm making that illegal, and you're going, okay, I'll just make it number 2.
I'll make it number 2. Yeah. Until it was like the 3rd or 4th, and I realized that this is starting to become a cat and mouse game, and I have to do something. I got to get out.
I'll be coming to get you soon.
Yeah, you know, I mean, there's a saying, you know, pigs get fed and hogs get slaughtered, and I was determined to be a pig and not a hog, and so, you know, my friend, longtime childhood friend Chris Alonzo, working at a restaurant, I linked up with him. And I'd always been involved. I'd always had a passion for film. I loved film. And he said, you know, let's get together and let's do something. Let's do a short film. Let's do something, you know. And I said, well, I have a ton of money. So, you know, I said, I'd love to, like, get out of this. So I sold my company to someone in Texas.
Sold the
Black
herbal
Magic
incense
for, like, you know, $500,000.
So now you're out.
I'm out. And
how long did it last for that guy? Did he make his money back?
He made his money back, because what happened was it still kept going on, and the people that worked in my warehouse went on and opened up their own thing, and I got out of it. And I stayed out of it, and Chris and we started writing a movie about this exact thing, about herbal incense and the whole journey to it. And while we were doing that, while we were writing it, Operation Logjam happened across the country, in all 50 states.
Operation Logjam is run by who? What is this?
The DEA.
So it's a DEA operation.
In one day, they went and hit 50 states and confiscated, you know, like pounds and pounds and pounds of herbal incense, confiscated money. They took down my nemesis,
the guy you were talking about,
the guy I was talking about, that was really, they confiscated his land, they found his money, they sent him to prison for 1.5 years. And a lot of other guys.
That could have easily been you.
What timing that you had to get the fuck out?
That was that borderline of the pig
any longer, and I would have been back in.
You wouldn't have been the pig no more.
I would have been the hog, and so I was making the movie about it, and they were living in prison.
So we're just about to watch the movie trailer for Josh Lewis's. It's based on your life.
It's my life story in a sense, up to a certain point, yeah, and what happened after prison, before and after.
And this is an award-winning feature film.
Won Best Film, yeah, the Indie Spirit Film Festival.
Yeah, we got it right here, Indie Spirit Film Festival, and the winner of Best Editing as well, Indie Fest USA. These are big film festivals, so this film was legit. Let's check it out.
You've been through a lot, Jay. You beat drugs, you did 3 years in prison. I think you'll make it through this just fine.
What are you getting up to tonight, man? I'll show you this little business thing I've been working on.
So where do I fit in? I mean, I don't have any cash to invest.
Sweat equity. Worked your ass off at my job. Do the same for me. You're a 50% partner.
I think that guy's playing weed in the hookah.
Is that romantic? Hope or read?
Why would you be smoking incense?
Because it gets you really high.
We make it, we sell it, we profit wholesale.
You're actually making this kind of money selling fake grass in the bar?
We got national.
They said that reporter was over there asking questions. Said she's doing a big story on this shit.
feel like you're not telling me something.
I'm gonna say this once and then I'll never mention it again. You have to get out of this business. Nothing comes easy in this life. Not money, not happiness, not love. Nothing. Maybe prison wasn't enough for you.
I don't want to do this anymore. I'm out.
Great cast.
Wow.
I'm out.
I don't want to do this anymore. I'm out.
I'm out.
Well, it looks awesome. Well, what's that like when you watch your mess turn into a 4K HD message? I mean, really, that doesn't happen to people. That's not a normal thing.
A lot of blood and sweat and tears went into this one, and you know, a lot of my own money and a lot of things that went into it. And for me, it was like it wasn't a confession, but it was definitely a way for me to make things right with the world in a sense because of this. Not that I had this overwhelming sense of guilt. I did what I had to do, and I felt like there was a lot of right things that came from that. But there was a lot of life lessons still within that journey of this product and this whole business venture. So when I did the movie, it was important that I didn't make it that it was defending me. I didn't want to defend me. I didn't want to show you all of my justifications, but I wanted to play devil's advocate. I wanted to show it as being, let you make the decision. These were the reasons why I did it, and these are the reasons why I thought that it was right. These are the reasons why I also thought that there was aspects that were wrong and why I got out.
And you as the viewer make your own conclusion.
You as the viewer make your own conclusion. The tagline to the film is that life is neither black or white, it's always gray. And yes, there are black and white things in life, but it's not always a black and white situation.
There is that middle ground.
There is a gray, and, you know, the duality of good and bad is not always something that makes sense.
You've come a long way, so then where do we go from there? What's your life? What path do you take?
Well, I mean, after the film, and I still had a ton of money, so I mean, I decided I wanted to take time off in a way. I wanted to work on film, I still am, but I mean, I wanted to focus on some more spiritual matters, you know. So I started to get into some of the spiritual aspects. I started looking into paranormal things. I wanted to understand more about the afterlife. I wanted to understand more about what's out there. And it was leading up to my next film, which is called Devil's Tree, which is out, and that we can play the trailer for, because I can move into. So there was a little paranormal experience that kind of sparked this idea for this next film, which was going to be a horror film, very loosely based on you know, true events.
When you say a paranormal situation happened to you?
Yeah, because I got into investigating the paranormal. This was one of my things that I wanted to discover, I wanted to explore, and it doesn't pay you money. So I had enough money at this time to take the time off to do what I wanted to do.
A passion project.
Yeah, to do something I really wanted to do and work on film. Early on into the paranormal thing, we went to this location in Port St. Lucie that there was a tree called the Devil's Tree, and it had a crazy story. We brought a medium, and I didn't know what to expect, and we had some pretty weird stuff happen. And that started me on this paranormal journey. But being still in film now, I wanted to parlay that into a film.
Merge these two.
Yeah, I wanted to merge the idea a little bit. And so that's how I came up and I wrote Devil's Tree.
And this one, again, is award-winning as well. You guys just won Best Feature at Treasure Coast and Best Director.
Yeah, well, I won't be going anywhere until I figure out what I'm doing this damn story on for my thesis.
Deep in the woods, there's this Devil's Tree. A lot of people have died there.
When I was here the other day, I felt something. Like someone was watching me.
You know, I'm questioning everything in my life right now. There's something evil at that tree.
Don't come here alone. Always come with a friend. Nobody knows the truth about that tree.
I can tell you right now, there are a lot of eyes on us.
What, right now?
Yeah. I can't tell who they are yet, but they're watching us.
Tell me, what did you feel when you were there?
is really weird. And why the hell do I have this mark on my arm?
What the hell is happening?
What is that all around her? Is there anyone who's here that would like to speak to me?
All these horrific acts happen here, but all the folklore around the tree has been blown out of proportion.
There you go.
Wow.
St. Lucie.
Wow, man. Well done.
So I've now, through this discovery of self, you know, I'm really trying to shed that tough exterior, or that part of me that feels like it has to continue to protect myself in that way. The ego, you know, stripping the ego as much as I can, trying to get as humble as just to the root of it as much as I can. And so that's what's really fueled this paranormal quest. It really started as a paranormal, but now it's become this intuitive spiritual journey. And so now what I'm doing, I wanted to know if there were really spirits out there. I wanted to know if there was an afterlife, and I got way more than I bargained for. I found out that I recorded voices saying, help me, and I'm stuck, and things like that. And I didn't know what to do with that. So I kept praying to my higher power, if there's something I'm supposed to be doing with this stuff, you need to show me. And he kept bringing more and more things into my life to show me that there is way more to this, and that I should be doing something regarding that, helping other people understand that there is a higher power, and that he can help you, and you don't have to be religious to do it, that you can be a spiritual being, and that you don't have to be a tough guy. You can embrace the sensitive aspects of you, the feminine and the masculine together, and you can, you know, to not judge. And of course I do these things every day still. I'm a human being, yeah. Right? But this journey, and so these spirits, and recording their voices, I'm recording more and more of them talking about the light and talking about asking God to help us. And it's not demons, and it's not, you know, there are bad things out there, I get that, but when you're tapped into something good, that's what I'm trying to do. My channel now is reaching people that I'm getting messages on a daily basis that they're saying to me, thank you for doing these videos, and thank you for showing me what you are finding and showing me your journey, because I was going to commit suicide, and I'm not now.
Wow.
I didn't believe in God, but I do now. And I don't know how to receive that other than to say thank you to the higher power who's allowing and using me as a conduit. And it doesn't pay very well. And, you know, now the money's changed from $250,000 to $2,500 a month. You know, it's okay though.
But you're happier. I'm
happier in the sense that I'm going after this is a life purpose. You know, and I started about 5 years ago, I started a program called Life Anonymous. And it's about using the 12 steps in our lives every day, whether you want alcohol, don't want alcohol, drugs, gambling, sex, whatever it is, your vice. Food, it doesn't matter. Even anger is a vice that we can fall very, you know, we can become very obsessed with, and so, because it's power. Anger brings power, you know, and it's control, and we're all wanting to control. You know, I'm a director, I want to direct everything, you know, and I have to relinquish that control on a daily basis, and it's a major lesson. But you know, so I started this program about 5 years ago. We have 2 meetings a week. Where can people attend those? The Log Cabin in Palm Beach Gardens. I think it's 2726 Burns Road. And, you know, Wednesdays, Fridays, 6 to 7. And about 20, 25 people come, and we talk about emotional recovery. So this is sobriety. A good alternative, a healthy alternative to AA or NA meetings. It's the same kind of, you know, you're still working with the steps. Right. But it's not under just one umbrella. You can do in addition to, if you have a problem with something, or if you never had an issue with anything, you can attend this because you want to find a higher power and didn't want to go to church. Maybe you didn't find it in church. That's okay, because we talk about God there. a God of our understanding, not my God.
No religion involved.
No religion involved.
And it sounds like you guys really work on the isms there. Like if you take the word alcoholism and you take an alcoholic kid, you remove the word alcohol, he's still got the isms.
We don't talk about the symptoms, right? We don't talk about the symptoms like the drugs and the alcohol, but we're talking about the isms, the obsession. The 12 steps can relieve anybody of any obsession if they wanted to do it.
If they work it.
If they work it. You know, and they say it. The program is not for people that need it, and it's not for people that want it. It's for people that do it. And that's a big deal.
It's a lifestyle, yeah.
That's because, you know, there's so many people that need it and want it.
It's like anything in life. There's so many people that need many things.
A lot of
money.
things. Right.
So many people that need anything, but only, what, 0.25% of all the people actually do something.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the part you have to do. That's why, to me, I mean, I don't know what you think, but a lot of the reason, like in NA or AA or these things, the hardest part of it to get for most people, there's certain things they'll say, okay, I'm going to do that part of it. This is how it happens to most everybody. I can do that part of it. Yeah, I can do that part of it. God? Oh, no. That part of it I cannot fucking handle.
That's a big roadblock for
That
people.
part of it, I could never handle it most of the times I tried to get sober. I mean, now I'm a religious guy in my own religion. But I absolutely think that's an awesome thing for that part of it, because that's the hardest part of the whole thing to get, is the being able to grasp the whole God thing. And that's what people push away immediately. That's what I pushed away every time I tried to go to AA or NA.
I mean, one of the best
know?
chapters that I would ever recommend anyone to read, not to the, it says to the atheist or to the agnostic, you know, to the atheist.
This is in the big book of
Alcoholics. In the big book of
Anonymous.
Alcoholics Anonymous, it's really not a chapter just to the atheist. It's for all of us. And it speaks about having a working relationship with a higher power of your misunderstanding. You know, of your own misunderstanding, if that's okay, because, you know, you're not going to understand God. So it's not about religion, and it's about finding your higher power and then working on yourself and trying to become a better person.
The best person you could be.
That you could be in this life, because then you're going to go, your life does go on. I'm sorry to tell people, if they think that they're going into a hole and they're going to be, that's it. That's not the case.
Where does the energy go?
Energy
You're made of
cannot,
energy.
Energy cannot
You're made
be
of energy. Where
Where
does it go?
Created nor destroyed, Einstein said.
Cannot.
It has to leave the body. It will leave the
So
body.
where the fuck does it go? If you, as I try to explain to my mother, they're like complete atheists, but I'm like, yeah, you're made of fucking energy.
That's
where
right.
do you think? Where'd it go?
So the more we understand that, and that's where my 12 steps have really now, my goal today in life purpose now, until he advises me otherwise, is to help stuck spirit when I can, and to show stuck humans that work, to help hopefully get them unstuck.
So how do you help the stuck spirit? I mean, in my religion, in Jewish, there's specific prayer that you say when someone dies for almost a whole year.
Right.
The whole purpose of it
To guide
is
them.
to like get them out of like the whole, whatever, not without getting into it.
Right.
There's a place
But help to
where
brush
you
them
go for a
along.
year.
So
that
like
you-
the Tibetan monks, they have they have the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It was written 3,000 years ago, and they talk about the different levels of heaven. They're called you know, Bordeaux's, they call them Bardos or Bordeaux or whatever. Every religion has their own, you know, different. The Jewish people have wonderful knowledge on the afterlife and spiritual connection. You know, the right, you know, Muslim religion has it too, but, you know, not extreme stuff. We're not talking about extreme stuff. You know, Christianity has ideas that are all, so there's rightness in all of it. But how do you help a spirit? It's a great question. We all have the ability to channel light. Quantum physicists talk about light. It's talking about light is how it's all about light. And when I gather these voices and they're always talking about the light. And they're not just talking about the light to cross over into. They're talking about that God gives everything and everyone light. And we can cut ourselves off from the light by being ego-filled, and
our free will can cut it off.
Our free will can cut it off a little bit, but anytime we want, at any moment, we can tap back into that light. And when I call on that light, and I ask for that light, and I actually visualize light coming down onto me, my body starts to radiate, my hair stands up, and I ask for the light for these spirits. And then afterwards, after I do that, I ask on the recorder, did you find the light? And you hear, yes.
Wow.
So you actually can help them by bringing it down.
He's guiding them out of that unstuck.
You like meditate, like to do all this?
Yes.
Like, I try. I'm practicing. I can't get more than 5 minutes.
That's it.
I got 5 minutes, and I'm like,
what's TM?
TM is transcendental meditation. Guys like Howard Stern and the Beatles and Katy Perry and a bunch of other celebrities do TM.
Practice.
But it's the Maharishi, and they first worked with the Beatles. But TM is really about quieting the mind. You sit quiet, you sit up straight, and you find a mantra. You can go online. You can have a teacher teach you a mantra, which is just a word, like in Bad Boys, they had the woosah. You can use the woosah, and you would sit, and you would, woosah, 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 in your mind, and you repeat that. And when you lose that mantra, that's a gain in meditation. You literally want to lose the mantra in meditation. So in your head, you're giving your mind a ball to play with the mantra. You're distracting your mind with a word that your mind has to repeat and kind of in a corner going, oh, woosah, woosah, woosah. But while you're doing that, you're getting past the brain and going deep within to the true self. And that is where you know God. And you'll come out of it and you'll go, I don't know what the hell I just did. I don't know what I just got. I know I wasn't sleeping because I know I was sitting up the whole time and I was conscious, but I went somewhere. And I lost track of time. I lost track of everything. I even lost track of that damn woosah word. And you'll come out of it and you'll go, I know I wasn't sleeping, but I'm not saying the mantra anymore. And you're supposed to go right back into the mantra. You do this 15, 20 minutes a day, twice a day. Commune with your higher power, whoever that is. And ask for your angels and guides and the light. And all of a sudden, you will be propelled into a spiritual journey beyond your wildest imagination.
Wow.
Which is another, it's not easy. Takes a lot of practice to do this shit.
Discipline is the key.
I just haven't made obviously, I usually can do what I want to do, but I haven't really decided to get past the 5 minutes yet.
Yeah.
So it's
5 minutes is a big deal, though.
Yeah,
so
but it's hard. You got to. This is something that takes. You want to get to the. You want to get to the ultimate light type of thing, whichever what it is.
The highest plane.
You need to do the work like you need to do with anything else in this whole life.
That's right.
You have to work. You got to be willing to practice it.
There's no other purpose for me now, and I just hope that I can be supported doing it. And now I'm starting to make money in the paranormal. Like my channel's starting to make money. I've got a website. I got a Patreon account, a Patreon page where people can.
What is that? Let's say that because I know we're having to wrap up, and we might need to bring you in another day to go into some of this other stuff. But
that's fine. It's patreon.com/Hope Paranormal. And people pay $5, $10 a month to be a part of this page where I let them in on a lot of exclusive stuff, and I talk to them about very personal situations, and I share. I do private sessions with people to try to reach their loved ones, and the work is just mind blowing. It really is mind blowing. I don't understand it.
You're healing people.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know any other. There's really no other purpose than to spread light, and however you spread light is up to you. You don't have. This is spreading light right now. This podcast. Right. Well, but you build it, they will come. Yeah. And what you're building, it's beautiful. It really is well put together. It's been really nice talking to you guys and sharing this. So, my hope is that this and many others will spread and someone hears it, like you said, here's something that they could relate to and say, oh man, I can do that too.
Yeah.
Or I've thought about that.
Well, look at the kid that was wandering around when all the other kids went home.
Right.
With the MD 2020 shitty liquor bottle.
I'd have been at home.
to what you've gone on to do now.
Yeah.
And you're literally doing divine, supernatural type of stuff. And filmmaking, I mean, you've really got two amazing things in your life, plus a beautiful family. Before we wrap up with you, I just want you to plug your two movies, where we can find them, and also you still have a hookah bar.
Right.
So plug that, please.
Yeah.
And the channel one more time.
Okay, so magicflamefilms.com is that's the production company where you can get to Not for Human Consumption. You can get to The Devil's Tree. You can get to our first short film, It's Happening, that Justin starred in with that too. So you could see all the film projects on magicflamefilms.com.
What other areas can I watch? Not for your consumption or Devil's Tree?
Well, they're all on Amazon and Prime and iTunes. They're everywhere.
So I can find them on iTunes, guys, Amazon Prime. Look for it. Support my man.
But I would say go to magicflamefilms.com because you can go to all of those avenues from that thing.
Magicflamefilms.com has got all of it.
Yeah, it's got everything there. Then you've got...
what's your hookah bar?
The hookah bar is Hooking Me Up.
Where's that
downtown
located?
West Palm Beach, right off Clematis.
What's the address?
It's 107 North Olive, right on the corner of Olive and Clematis by Duffy's.
What are the hours?
It's 10 years now.
10 years going?
10 years. And it's 7 to 1 on the weekdays, 7 to 3 on the weekends.
7 p.m.
7 p.m., yeah.
But a nice, fun, safe place. Artists go hang out there.
It's a great place. It gets really popping at 10 o'clock. You can't get in. It's very, it's cool. So that's cool.
And people can catch up with you there, I'm sure.
It's way cooler than me now. I've gotten way too old, and I don't understand anyone there anymore.
They're all like the old man's here.
I'm the old man, and they're like the nice, young kids. But
if a fan wanted to meet you and pick your brain, they might run into you there.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm there a couple times a week. I'm not there as much anymore.
Go frequent it, and you'll run into them.
Sure. And then Hope Paranormal. Hope Paranormal White Light is the channel on YouTube.
There's all kinds of videos and
160 videos.
So
6 years worth of videos, and there are some. I mean, I got videos that almost have 500,000 views on there, and there's some really crazy stuff on
So next time you're sitting there and you're bored for like 10 minutes, and you're like, let me look at a cat playing a piano YouTube video.
I mean,
check out Hope Paranormal because it might be something that blows your mind.
Hope Paranormal on YouTube. Light. White Light. Hope Paranormal White Light. Yeah, it's I didn't. And what else? I don't know. I think that's it. Oh, lifeanonymous.com.
Right.
If you want to go to the meetings, check out the meetings. Wednesdays, Fridays, 6 to 7. And it's...
shoot that address one more time.
2726 Burns Road.
Okay.
Palm Beach Gardens. Log cabin right behind the church. 6 to 7. Wednesdays, Fridays. Emotional sobriety.
Go where you're going to grow.
Yeah.
Well, this is it for this episode of Second Act Podcast. On behalf of Michael Stone and Justin Sims, we want to thank Josh Lewis, our unbelievable guest again today, guys, and we will see you soon.